And all right, our first segment, as you've seen it, is Mortal Kombat, the movie from 2021 review. Now, this was your choice, your segment for this show. And we originally were going to review this a few months back, but due to the updating of this format, it got pushed back until now. But we're here. I've seen this a few times now. How many times have you watched it?
Just the one. It's on the list to rewatch it again.
Okay.
Since it was free on the HBO Plus.
Nice.
But I did. I still think our search is going.
You don't think we found the worst one?
No.
This is not the worst video game film.
Correct.
Is this the best video game film?
It is up there for what ones that we have reviewed so far.
Okay.
I did definitely on the top end for what we've watched so far.
So, Ty says somebody needs to buy out Game Freak. Orochi says, I like the name Xbox Scorpio. Trevor says, I liked this Mortal Kombat. And it says, watched it 6 times, a huge improvement on the first 2, but it still has its faults. Trevor says, not even the worst Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, I think this is the best Mortal Kombat film of the ones that they've released, the ones I've seen anyways.
I could go with that. Like I've talked about before, just the nostalgia of the first one will always keep it up there for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of probably if you were just going like straight film critic watching movies, this one would be better.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives to this one, obviously, being that it's 2021 and not 1995. This one, I believe, had a pretty decent budget as well, which helped in the special effects area of this film, which is one of my likes. So I made a list of 3 likes and a dislike. And one of my biggest highlights is indeed the special effects. There are a lot of really unique and cool uses of special effects in this movie. I really liked Sub-Zero and his use of basically making icicles as weapons. I thought that was really cool and clever.
Yeah, I like my just overall take. Some of the things that I liked was it was a different take on Mortal Kombat. It wasn't just straight like people fighting, like they actually made a decent story with it. And you also don't need to know anything about Mortal Kombat, and you could watch this movie and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you'll have the question of who are those characters and why are they aligned with who, and I think that is one of the faults of the movie. It doesn't elaborate enough on this tournament. It's just like, there's this tournament, and we must get there. Kind of like that part of the story is rushed.
Like, because Amy watched it with me, and she actually really liked this movie. So you don't have to know a lot about what's going on to like enjoy it.
Right. Orochi says, other than the random main character. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not up to date on all the Mortal Kombat games, but the main character of the film, he was created for this movie, right? He's not of any of the.
As far as I know, it was a new character.
Ad says Cole. So Cole's the new character. Ad's in chat here says Cole dampened the movie for me, but wasn't terrible. And Kano is the greatest character. So you mentioned that, chat. Kano is the greatest character. I want to mention that also as one of my 3 likes. Kano. Despicable human. Kano. Offensive, repulsive. Just a downright.
He played Kano like perfect for how he is from the games, though.
Right. Like I mean, they were. Ooh, we got a sneezer. You just sneezed all over chat. Yikes!
My bad.
Yikes! But no, they nailed the portrayal of Kano and how despicable he, should be. The actor was great in the role. I think they cast that one spot on. I felt really, really good about his casting.
So I love his casting. It was great. What my one minus I had for the movie was watching it. You knew he was going to betray them from the moment they introduced him as a character. So it was kind of cliche. Like there wasn't any creative writing for that. You knew it was going to happen from the moment that he was introduced.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I think that was the fun of it too, just kind of having that like one eye open with him around. You're like, how are they going to convince him to get involved with things? And speaking of character direction or character introduction, his story arc was interesting. Cole's introduction to his character was interesting. You know, being this washed up or almost even a wannabe MMA fighter that couldn't really make it in the cage fighting. They had a point too, whether he was like this chosen one. Like, why, if you're so crappy at fighting, obviously the lineage, but like, spoiler, why, if you're so crappy at fighting, why should you be the chosen one, kind of thing? You know, Justin has arrived. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. What's up?
What is up? We're just talking Mortal Kombat 2021, giving our feedback on that. Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, so I watched it when it first came out, and watched it recently here in the last couple of days.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it was good. I wouldn't say it was great, but I mean, I guess my favorite thing was the Shang Tsung. Is the one with the hat, right? No, is it
Kung Lao?
Kung Lao has
Kung
a hat,
Lao. Yeah, the Kung Lao fatality. Even though it was only like 5 seconds of the movie, easily the best part for me.
The one where he saws him in half?
Yeah.
Yeah. Overly violent, and I'm glad they stepped it up, because, like, that was the thing about the other Mortal Kombat movies. They pulled punches because they wanted to get more butts and seats and make money, whereas this one's like, no, Mortal Kombat's violent and offensive, and they need to go
It'd
there.
be rated R, and
It
just
should
went
be.
with it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you're going to make a Mortal Kombat movie, just make it rated R. Go all in. If it sucks, it sucks, but at least you stayed true to what it is.
Well, part of it is gearing towards your audience. So at the time that they made the first movie, I mean, only kids were playing video games.
Well, yeah,
not too many adults.
It was adolescents, right? That was the main consumer base.
So now that we're revisiting this 15, 20 years later from the original movie.
Are you trying to say that the old people like us are into that stuff now?
Well, no,
Exactly.
they're catering to the people that grew up with it, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have the people that have that nostalgia that are going to be the ones watching the movie. And now that we have the permission to watch the gore and the violence, I mean, they said, why not? It's not going to screw up our viewership at all.
Yeah, I let my oldest watch the first
audience.
one from 95, but he's not watching this new one. There's no way.
No way.
No. To have to explain half the things that happen, man, it's already it's tough trying to get it through to him that the Avengers aren't real. To have to explain Mortal Kombat, so that's just not happening.
Yeah, so my favorite scene was actually the Goro fight scene when Cole discovers his, whatever they call him in the movie, I forgot, but like his power. That whole scene, because also Goro is one of my favorite characters from the original stuff, so that was pretty cool.
You mentioned the power thing. That's kind of one thing that took me out of the movie. Where, like, especially the whole narrative when they're walking to their destination and Kano keeps bugging him, when am I going to get my powers? Like, I don't know. That was weird, and I didn't love that. I feel like they should be gifted already and not, like, unlock their power. It's just weird that it just randomly came.
I thought it was a way of them trying to make it where, like I said, where you didn't have to know beforehand, like, the story, so people could pick it up and watch and be like, oh, they have to develop this.
Right, but there was just such an emphasis on the narrative, and the way he described it was super cheesy, and I didn't like that. I don't know how I would have done it differently, but I didn't like that.
So along those lines, I would say for the established characters, I would say have their powers already kind of built in. They're already established in the canon, you know. But with this new one, obviously they're going experimental with this movie and creating a whole new character. I think it's totally fine for him to say, like, learn or come into his power, because at the time he didn't know. But yeah, if it's already established, then it feels like a reach.
Especially with someone like Kano, who should already be established as this horrible, awful person, to have him all of a sudden get this gift and be even more horrible and awful, but then not do anything more with it. Like he
laser eye.
Right, like it's just like, oh, it went from cool to cheesy. Why did you go there? Batman says that we needed more Goro. Ad says Kano calls him Kung Pao. So yeah, we have some racial offensiveness in the movie. Great for representation, by the way. That's the theme of this podcast today. We have racial representation.
But it fits with the character where you're supposed to really dislike that guy. So
right, he's doing his job, and it's yeah. Ty says the Avengers aren't real. No, they're not. If Kano already has power, he wouldn't have been captured. I mean, he didn't need to be captured. Then you could have changed the narrative, right? There are other ways to do it. They did it in the other movie. They lured him. You know, he was trying to hunt down. I'm drawing a blank. Sonya. And yeah, so like that's how they got him involved on the last one. He followed them into the ship and stuff. You know, onto the island.
So I did. And I gotta call out the opening fight scene with the like ancient Sub-Zero versus Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool way to start the movie. Like it brought you in right away.
Intro.
So that right there alone, the tone, the look of the movie when it opened, I'm like, this is going to be incredible. This looks big budget. It's properly. How do I want to define this? They gave props to historical, like the ancient civilizations of where this came from. I don't know how to describe it properly, but they captured that feeling and importance of these characters. And I had really hoped the whole movie would have been shot that way. There was a tonal shift in the movie after that, and I don't know what it was. It was as soon as they went to that cage fight in the introduction of Cole. There was just a tonal shift in the movie. And it only got brought back during the main story arc with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I thought that was the better, well-done story arc, where I wasn't as interested in a lot of the other characters. Like, Sonya was fine. Kano was the comic relief. Kung Lao was good. I wish they would have done more with him. The villains were awful. Like, it felt like a Power Rangers movie where they just appeared in smoke and kept vanishing and then appearing again, and it was just like, and the bad guys are here, time to fight. And it's like, and their meetings in the mountain, I'm like, this is weird. It's such a, like, they have it so grounded in the beginning, and then it goes supernatural almost with the villain arc. So I just don't know. And some of the villains, it was like bad cosplay for some of them. So I don't know.
But with all that, it was great at the same time.
It was. And again, it is the best portrayal of Mortal Kombat that they've done thus far. But it's, I don't know. The villains were the most disappointing part of it to me. I just felt it wasn't executed properly. Besides the main story arc of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, that was executed perfectly. There was a backstory, there was character compassion, there was the lineage, there was the importance value. The rest felt kind of like filler. How do we make this a tournament almost, right? How do we make these people link up and fight? You know, how do we get the importance of Raiden and all these, elements together? Like, it's a good movie, but there's things that they could have done better. Ad says, we need a moment of silence for Natara, the most wasted character in the movie. Ty says, were the villains not villainous enough? No, I don't believe so. I don't think they were. There was never this huge threat other than when they seemed imposing when they apparated, and that was really it for the exchanges for me. So, but Kano is one of my likes. The intro sequence, I can't emphasize enough how good that beginning of the movie was. And the special effects, again, before you showed up, I said some of the things they did with Sub-Zero, with the icicles as daggers.
Yeah, that was cool.
And the MMA cage all frozen, and just some of the set pieces there. That was cool. And then some of the set pieces that look like stages, the way they shot the wide angle, so the side perspective of some of the fights, especially with Jax. Some of that stuff was cool.
Yeah.
But
So again, I'm pretty sure this is not the worst video game movie.
No, this is by far not the worst video game movie. I
No.
wouldn't put it in the top or the low 5, if you will. This was well done. Is it my favorite video game movie? I don't think so, but it was fun. It was what Mortal Kombat needed to be. And I think with the sequel, they can improve upon what they've established.
Yeah.
So this
Special
is one
effects.
just, I was just say just not just for nostalgia's sake, but everybody needs to see it if you're into anything like this.
Oh, 100%.
Not like the old ones where it was just for nostalgia. You need to see it. Like this one's actually good.
I think you should go see the one from 95 as well. You can skip Annihilation, but
Yes.
see the 95
As much
one.
as I still watch Annihilation and just for nostalgia, I like it. It's a bad movie, though. You can skip it. It's not good.
It's really bad. Orochi says they really need to decide which is the bad guy, Scorpion or Sub-Zero, because a lot of the Mortal Kombat keep switching around. You know, here's the thing. Like they definitely portrayed Sub-Zero as the villain in this one. There's no question about it. For what he did, awful. He murdered a family. Like that's the worst crime. So it's very definitive that Sub-Zero is the villain here. But yes, I've seen it where both are villains. I've seen it where one or the other is villains. I don't think I've ever seen it where they're both good. Ad says if the sequel
I
gives
kind of
us
like that they
Kintaro-
took Sub-Zero, because usually, like, you take the fire guy and make him the bad guy, so it's kind of nice that they didn't do the obvious.
I still love the use of the hook, especially when they set it up in the beginning too. You're like, oh, okay, I know who you're gonna be. So, and then they get over here, like the classic stuff. They kept some of that stuff. They kept the Mortal Kombat like theme involved in it. Like there were a lot of nods to the source material from the original movie. So, like it gave this series love, but like you had said, Justin, kind of tried to reinvent stuff too and approach it in a new light. So, and again, I think they did a great job, but I'm hopeful for an improved upon sequel and a more menacing story arc from the expanded villain cast to make them more important.
Yeah, story-wise, it was lacking. I mean, it was creative, but some of the characters were lacking as far as development or as far as you really being invested in them. But special effects-wise, it was great.
Ad says he is more Hanzo than Scorpion. Yeah, true. That's true, the portrayal of especially at the ending. Thunderbird says, so I haven't seen it. I know I'm a terrible person. I'm really behind on movies. There's nothing wrong with that. I haven't seen half the TV shows that people tell me to see, so hey, I'm right there with you. But it's like a lineage of characters passed down the bloodlines because I thought that would have been a cool approach. So yeah, I mean, that's basically what the main character is, Cole, the introduced character. He's the lineage of the intro sequence. Do yourself a favor, Thunder.
How vascular I am.
Check this one out.
If there's one thing women love, it's a vascular man.
Jolly says
Worth watching.
vascular.
Bang bang.
Bang, bang. So I had a question to open up the show. I want to propose this question to you, Justin. On our last podcast, we talked about Microsoft
Bang, bang.
acquiring Activision Blizzard, right?
Yep.
I'm sure you've seen and heard and read Sony's acquirement as a clapback at that of Bungie
Yep.
for $3-point-something billion
Billion. Yeah.
compared to the almost $70 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard, which in my opinion is a better purchase for Microsoft. But I just kind of wanted to have you give us your thoughts. Like, do you care? Like, is this a deal to you? Because I don't even think you play Destiny, do you?
No, I mean, for me, it's really a non-factor. I mean, I had a PS3, and after that, kind of stuck with Xbox. I mean, they have some great individual titles, but them acquiring Bungie, it's not really anything for me to go, oh, I really need to get PlayStation now. I'll stick with Xbox, and as long as they don't jack up the prices too badly. But for me, it was just kind of like, oh yeah. I mean, I think their stock took a pretty big tank after that Xbox announcement was made. So I'm sure they're just trying to recoup those losses as a result. But yeah, for me, it wasn't much.
So I know there's a big install base. Destiny is a popular game. I have to give it props for that. There is a community that plays that game. The game's free to play on Steam, though. They've confirmed that it's going to remain multi-platform. So what kind of profit margins and like what is the benefit really of this purchase then?
I can say they bought it.
Yeah,
right.
Future developments, really, that's about it.
Sure, but they're going to remain multi-platform. So...
Right. Oh, I'm just saying, like, well, the existing games, right? You're saying you're going to remain multi-platform, but
no, new.
But new.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Then you got me.
Because Bungie obviously wants to continue their install base of their games to be successful, and even Xbox has confirmed with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard that they're going to do their best to keep Call of Duty and other games under that umbrella multi-platform. Which they know to maximize revenue, you want the bigger install base. Throw it on as many platforms as you can, but you're still going to get dividends from this, install base. So Bungie knows this. Sony, I mean, maybe that's why they're capitalizing on it. Because again, Destiny is a popular game, but I don't think it's one of the top 5 shooters anymore. I could be wrong. I haven't looked up specific data on that, but I just don't hear as much as I did years ago with it compared to things like Apex, Fortnite, COD. I was going to say Battlefield, but not so much. Halo making a huge comeback, which they desperately need to put out new content because their numbers are starting to fall off. Mm-hmm. So, but
I think it comes down to, I mean, maybe there's some sort of DLC angle that I'm not seeing because, I mean, if you're acquiring Bungie for that amount, and like you said, if Destiny's a free game, then their DLC purchases have got to be off the charts to make it worth it.
Well, that's the thing. They do seasons like everything else, and it's usually like $25, $35 for a next season, and it ups what they called, I think, light. So you like increase your level cap. It has new raids and stuff like that, and a new story arc. I don't know. I got burned out in the loot grind of that game. It wasn't for me. So to me, it's not a big deal either. So who knows? It could be a big deal for somebody else out there. But I think it's there.
Who's the PlayStation guy in chat? Let us know if it's a big deal.
I don't think we have many because a lot of our channels run on Xbox. I think Batman's one of the few that has PlayStation besides Trevor, and that might be it. Others might play on the PlayStation, but they're not as vocal about it if they do. Most of our people here are Xbox people. So... But it'd be interesting to see. So I just wanted to pick your brain on that. We'll ask Cody that question too when he ends up joining us. He said he'll be here close to 9, so we got another 20 minutes or so. Trevor says, I played Destiny 1 and 2, not a game I care about. And that's the thing. I tried it. I gave both games a try. Hell, I even bought a custom PS4. When I first got my PS4, I got the white one that came with Destiny. Because I was going to be all about it. I'm like, Bungie, Justin, we know their history. It was a huge promise of a game, and it didn't deliver, for the first however long. So
several months, I believe.
Yeah. So, Roshi says we don't talk about the evil Sony company. Sorry, I'll stop. Thunder says growing up, I was a diehard PlayStation until I started repairing PS2 and the original Xbox. Yeah, I've enjoyed both consoles for various reasons. I favor the Xbox over PlayStation just because of the services and the online. Sony had a lot of games that I could only play on their platforms, so I appreciate it for that. If it wasn't for the PS1 and me and iRob, we probably wouldn't have our show on Thursday nights called NAW because that got started with him and I in his basement on the PS1. So
I was diehard PlayStation through, and that's going to sound super, but PS2, so original Xbox had no interest in it. And then from there, I just feel like Xbox has been the superior system.
It was Xbox Live and Halo that changed everything for a lot of us, I think. So it was just a fun community game to hop on with your friends, and it's accessible, and it's fun. It had game modes that other games didn't have. It had good variety. If you got bored...
I didn't own an original Xbox. I never have.
You should get one. It's an awesome system. I mean, there's no need to with backwards compatible, but...
I had yours for a while because you didn't use it.
That's true, yeah. You had that for a while. But backwards compatible, there's no need unless you really want to experience the Duke, that old big controller. But yeah, so final consensus, though, closing out our Mortal Kombat segment. I think it's a must-see. Do I think it's a perfect film? No. But I think as far as video game films are concerned, I think it's a must-see. What do you guys think? Closing thoughts?
I would agree. For anybody that's like us, like in the nerd realm, if you will, that are into Mortal Kombat, it hits everything you need. And if you have someone with you, like I said, Amy watched it with me, who couldn't care less about any Mortal Kombat history. She actually still liked the movie. So,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wouldn't say it's a must-see. I would say if you do see it, you're not going to be disappointed. But I wouldn't say it's one you have to go out and see. So, just a little differing opinion. But yeah, it was good. I don't regret watching it, and I mean, I would watch it again. But I wouldn't say, oh, you got to check this one out. But it was good.
That's fair. That's fair. So that concludes our first segment of our episode 137 here. We're going to shift over to our second segment, which is going to now be our music segment featuring Love and Other Lies EP by Charlotte Sands. That's pronounced correctly, right?
Yep.
Okay, so stick with us. We'll be right back in just a second.